Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is our third workshop to help each other get through this tough time. We're all suddenly thrust into this online teaching situation. And if you're like me, you didn't even know you would be doing this just a few weeks ago. And suddenly our whole world is turned upside down and we're trying to get through it. Last month, we held a couple of workshops like this, just sort of Zoom basics or just getting started. Today, we're going to be focusing more on classroom activities that can be done using other tools. And so just let me introduce myself if you don't know already. I'm Jerry Tolandis Jr., and I'm teaching English at the University of Toyama. Bruno, who are you?
My name is Bruno. I'm a French teacher. I was a French teacher until last year. And now I run Alma Publishing, which I co-created 20 plus years ago. And this is the image of Alma Publishing.
Oh, wow.
We just give you an image of what kind of company we are. We are a very, very small company created by teachers and based in Japan, in Kyoto.
Mm-hmm.
That's
so
it.
a lot of the people who are joining are users of Conversations in Class, the basic English textbook from Alma. But of course, many of you are not users of this book, and we're not going to cover anything in this workshop that is not applicable to any other textbook. So this is just sort of general information. We are going to be, of course, mentioning the textbook we use, but you'll be easily able to infer anything we talk about into another situation or another book. Okay, so that's that. Okay, well, all right. So I'd like to start by sharing the handout. We have a digital handout, which is we're going to be talking about Google Documents today. So it's all only fitting that we made our handout on a Google Doc. And so I'd like to copy the link to that and share it with you guys. Hold on a second. Okay, I've copied it. Now I'm going to send it through the text, through the chat function of Zoom. So you guys know how to do that, right? So you just click on it, and then I can then send a message to everyone. So here it is. Okay, did you get that? Can you see that? All right, great. So just click on that, and then I'll also be sharing my screen, and so Bruno as well when we're going through the various things. But you can have that for yourself as well. Okay. So as you can see, we'll be covering first the. So we're going to do a quick review of Zoom best practices. After that, we'll go through Google Forms, a couple activities that you can do with Google Forms. Google Documents is next. We'll show how to do a classroom writing activity using Google Documents. We were hoping to do a little bit more on this online video tool called Flipgrid. Unfortunately, the person that was going to join us to talk about that couldn't make it today. So that's going to be really short at the end. Since neither Bruno and I are really experienced with Flipgrid, we thought we'd just throw it out there and introduce it. And we've given you some links and information about it, so you can follow up on that as you like, and we'll just talk about that a bit at the end. And hopefully we're going to get through things in time for you to also ask questions and talk about your experiences and things like that. Okay. Now, we all have different levels of computer experience. Some of us are really beginners, and maybe what we cover today for some of you will be totally too easy. We'll do our best just to kind of aim down the middle. And you can see we've provided links and places where you can find more information if you're interested. But feel free to stop us and let us know if you have any questions, okay? All right, so first, let me go through, okay, I'm gonna share my screen here. And I am going to talk about, I'll show you the handout. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Bruno, can you see it?
Yes.
Can you see the handout? Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. So here is, first of all, a couple of tips, some information about using Zoom as well. So the first one is a handout that I created based on an email that was sent by Bill Pello, who is the current JALT PR director. And it just was really good. And he gave me his permission to share this. And I'm not going to go through and read all this for you. I just wanted to point this out, that this is sort of a nice summary of good things to do when using Zoom. All right. So for example, dealing with, appointing co-hosts and enabling a waiting room. Okay. Working together with someone. So one person's talking, the other person's dealing with the chat. All these are nice little tips that I think, at least I know from my perspective, are much more accessible now that I've been using it for several weeks. I remember last month, I couldn't have handled any of this stuff. I didn't even know what Zoom was. Like, I was so basic and I couldn't have any room in my mind for any of this kind of stuff. So I came across this. I thought it would be nice to share it. Please take a look at this. Maybe it can confirm whatever you think is best or not. But anyway, there it is for you, okay? Now, another one is similarly is this whole issue of online etiquette, which is now becoming a big issue. A lot of schools have come across their own guidelines that they're putting out for students and things. And I came across this through a former colleague at Chuko University in Nagoya. And with permission, I'm sharing this with you. He created a document of etiquettes, online learning etiquette, and it's bilingual, as you can see. So I thought I'd share this with you because I've been going over this with my students so that I can be sure that we're all on the same page in terms of basic rules and manners and good learning form, all right? I recommend checking this over, and if something is useful, then sharing it or using it. But don't just use it directly. Be careful because you don't want anything to go against the rules of your school or the way that your school is approaching this issue. So just putting it out there for those of you who can't speak Japanese, it's very nice to have a bilingual version of this. Okay. Speaking of the Japanese, right? Last month's workshop, one of the participants recommended this website called DeepL Translator, which is really supposedly way better than Google Translate. So if you are trying to make a document that's online for your Japanese students and you don't speak Japanese, perhaps this is better than Google Translate, perhaps. So
yes, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And it can be a good first step, even if it's always a good practice to ask a native speaker to check a translation.
Yes.
But for a first draft, this is it does work well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there we go.
In
Yeah,
pinch,
well,
it can be okay on its own as well. Sometimes it's better to have a not so great translation than no translation at all.
all right. So if you're joining us and you're from Japan, then never mind. But there you go. Okay. So just some basic information. I thought I'd share it with you guys just because now that you've got experience, it might help. Okay. All right. So there you go. All right. Next, on to Google Forms. Do you all know what Google Forms is? You know Google Documents, right? Well, Google Forms is one of the services of Google. So once you have your Gmail account set up, you have access to all of these various services, right? And Forms are one of them, okay? So what I'd like to do is just give you a quick overview of the forms, and then I'd like to show you a couple of ways in which they can be very useful for our online classes, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning that the logic is probably almost the same for other services of online forms.
Mm-hmm.
Like Microsoft Forms are probably almost exactly the same. So
SurveyMonkey, JotForm, there's this whole type of genre of online document that's sort of survey based, and any of those would work as well. So we're just focusing on Google now because it's free and a lot of people have it and it's easy to access. And so, but that's not the only way. That's a really good point. Okay, so really quick, Google Forms. So if you click here and then you can check out this document. So it looks like this. All right. So when you create the form, you get to see all these various question types. Okay. So what I'd like to do is sort of give you an overview quickly of how to make one, and then give you some examples of how it could be used. Okay. So for example, okay, so you go to, I'm going to go to my Google Drive. And once you're in your Google Drive, you click New, and then you would click More, and then Google Forms, like this. Okay. So you've given this sort of blank thing. Okay. And so what you want to do is just give it a title, like for example, like say you want, for example, to make sure your students have their textbooks or not. You know, it's been very confusing because students cannot attend or can't go to the bookstores often to get their books, and you're not sure, do your students have the book or not, whatever. So you have the basic thing. You can have the form collect the student emails, which can be very helpful. You can also turn that by clicking the settings. You can turn it off. Okay. Then once you go, then you just start adding questions, all right? So as you see, you can click here to add the question. And this is your basic, this is your basic first question. And then you have to choose the type. You've got a short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, check boxes, drop-down menu, file upload, and then types of these sort of grids, like Likert scale type grids. And then places for date and time. Okay, so if you can see here on my example here, here's examples. This is the date and time. This would be the short answer, like for example, what's your favorite kind of ice cream? Okay, and then the students would just type in the questions, right? Multiple choice, you know what that is. The drop-down menu is the same as the multiple choice, except that, you know, it's a drop-down menu format. The checkboxes enable students to check more than one thing. So for example, say you would like to see what kind of equipment your students have for online study, which is another important point. You can easily just have them check all that apply or type something else here, okay? The file upload question, it can be very interesting. I'm not ready to do anything exactly yet, but what's really cool with this is that you can create a question where a student would upload a type of file, and the files are saved in a special folder on your Google account, your Google Drive. Okay.
Yeah. Jerry,
Yeah.
if for uploading files like this, students will need to be logged in.
That's correct. Yes.
Into a Google account.
Yep. It says right here. So files will be uploaded from owner's Google Drive. Respondents will be required to sign into Google when they upload. So there's that hoop to jump through. Okay, so that's a key point. But if you kind of check it out, what's really cool here is there are possibilities to check out. So you can allow only certain file types to be uploaded. For example, say you want the students, you ask the question, so what did you have for lunch today? And please share a photo, okay, of your meal, right? So then you can then just click image, and then that would be it. And then they would be prompted to upload the photo. This could also be done with audio. So if you can figure out a way for your students to make an audio recording of a conversation, this would be one way for them to share the file with you, right? That is something I'm interested in looking into, so, but I'm not ready yet. Still figuring all this stuff out. So that's the file upload type, right? But there's these linear scales, right, with like a Likert scale. Okay, so you can see like, you can create a statement that can be used as a discussion prompt. So for example, online learning is better than face-to-face learning, or you know, whatever, you know, pizza is better than pineapple, and whatever you want to create kind of like a discussion point, a warm-up discussion, for example. The students can then make their answer, and then you can go through the answers together, and then that can be used for further conversation, okay? similar with the multiple choice grid or the checkbox grid. So here you have agree and disagree with a bunch of statements. And here you're looking at how often you do something. So these are types of questions that can be used in class, okay? All right. So Bruno, anything to add at this point?
No. So what's nice about this kind of forms is that people do not need to have a Google account usually to reply to normal questions. So it's very easy to use. I mean, it is very easy to respond to. It's not that easy to use actually as the person creating the form and sending it out. Personally, for me, it was a bit disconcerting in the beginning because I'm used to Google Docs and Google Slides. And it's a little bit different because forms are designed to be sent to people who will then answer and send you back the field form. So the logic is slightly different. But once you get used to it, it's okay.
Okay. So it's basically familiarizing yourself with the question types. And then once you've created it, then it's just a matter of clicking send. And then you can then send by different means. I find the easiest way is to simply take the link and then copy the link and then paste it into the chat so that everyone can access it. I've been using this in my classes with the textbook question. Do you have your textbook? Yes or no, right? And that's been super helpful because I'm able to know exactly who has the book and who doesn't and why they don't have it. So the 3 or 4 students who don't have it, now I have their email address. I can contact them, we can work it out, and I can help them directly. So it's been very nice, right? When you print out the results, it gives you an option to show a spreadsheet, and that's been very, very, very useful.
Yep.
Excuse me, Jerry.
Yeah, sure.
This is Becky.
Hi.
Can you make this document on the spot, or do you have to make it in advance?
I think you can, making it in advance would make it smoother.
Yeah.
And make it like your class flows smoother. I would not recommend doing it in class until you're really good at it, until you're really confident at it. And if it's really short.
I discovered last weekend because my universities used the Office 365. I tried the Microsoft Forms.
Yeah.
And they have the immersive reader embedded in that. And I was trying to make it as a short test. And at the last minute, I discovered that the receiver can translate it into their preferred language.
Wow.
So I can't use it as a test, but this Google seems to be only one language. I mean, it's not, within the document, the students can't switch it to Japanese. Would that be correct?
I think so, but it's so easy to translate anything online now.
Yes,
you know,
yes, I know that, but I mean,
translate
at least they have to take extra time to go look it up rather than being in the document.
Yeah. No, it is my impression that in the Google Forms, the questions that you have written are fixed in that language. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good point. Okay, well, all right, we're here.
So we are going to demonstrate the use of a form, Jerry. Like you will send us one of your forms.
Okay. Let's check to see if you have. Let's pretend you're a student and you want to check your. You want to answer this questionnaire. Okay. So let me go find this. Hold on a second. I'm going to quit the sharing so I can find the document here on my computer. Okay. All right. So this is an opportunity to just try it out and then see how it goes. Okay. All right. Yes, here we go. All right. I'm copying the link. All right. I'm copying the link now for the Google document. And now I'm going to paste it to everyone. Okay. So here we go.
So you should look in your dialog bar on the side.
Yeah. Okay, can you all see that? It's on the chat thing. I sent you a link, and so click on that, and fill out the form. In the meantime, I'm going to share my screen, so I'll show you what I'm seeing as the creator of the form from my end as the students are filling it out. Okay, all right. So
I think what about
so I'm gonna share the screen here. Hold on a sec. Okay. So this is the form that I just made, you guys. Now, hopefully you're, see, we got one response already. Okay. Okay. So this is very simple. So when in the class, so as you're filling it out, I'll describe how I'm using this, okay? So I've copied the link, I've pasted it into the chat, and now I'm taking students through it. Please fill out your email, please write your family name, please write your personal name, then answer the question, do you have your textbook, yes or no? And finally, if you don't, why not? And then you can write the reason below, okay? So now the responses are coming in. As you can see, this number here is getting bigger and bigger, right? So that's very cool. All right. We got 9 here. Very good. Okay, so this is just, when you make the question, obviously you see the image. That's one option that you have. When you create a question, you can take an image file and drag it right in, and so that's part of what you can do. You can also add a short video clip as well, especially from YouTube. It syncs up really well since they're owned by the same company, right? So you could have, for example, a video clip, and then you could have students watch it and then respond and do questions based on the video. So that's actually possible.
In my experience, you can only share a YouTube video in a
oh, really? Oh, okay. I haven't tried that yet.
But that is actually not such a big problem, because when you use a screencast software, you always have the option to upload to YouTube, and that is really a convenient way to distribute videos.
Okay. All right. So now we've gotten a bunch of responses. Let me just show you what's happening. So you can see the email addresses, the first names, the family names, and we can see that out of the 16 responses so far, 10 people do not have their book and 6 people do. So I would be freaking out right now. What's going on? What's happening? And so now I can see, you're so poor and you can't afford it. Okay, I will buy you your own copy, all right? Or I'll talk to the publisher and see if you can get a free copy, all right, whatever. So in other words, it gives you something to deal with, right? And if you click here, this is the summary. You can also go through it by question, and you can also go through individual by individual, okay, here. And then if you click this up here, this is the create the spreadsheet. It'll instantly create the spreadsheet so that you have an instant printout to all of the results. So I'll show you guys. So you can see here, if you want to sort the students by their, by family name or by personal name, you can sort by yes or no answer. So that's really helpful. And then you can see the reasons, et cetera, et cetera. So you have everything all there in one go. Okay. So this is very useful. So for example, for any kind of logistical issue you might want. Okay. So this is really cool. Okay. Now another example would be not a logistical issue, but actually as a classroom prompt for conversation. So let's take another look here. Let's say I want to make one. I'll make a really quick one that we could try out. Okay, so for example, I say you wanted to start, you're doing a unit on music, all right? And you want to start off a discussion about music, and you want to poll your class to see what type of music they like. So for example, what kind of music do you like best? Okay, so here's maybe you don't need the email. Okay, I've already collected the emails before, I don't need it. Okay, so I'll take that out and I'll just put the question. So of the following choices, which kind of music do you like best? Okay. So let's just put a multiple choice. So I can just list some options here, okay? So J-pop, K-pop, rock, jazz, classical, Enka, and what's another kind of music?
Reggae.
Reggae. Okay, and so this is the first part, right? So you've got a multiple choice list of questions. Now, a quick way to make a new question is just to duplicate it. So you click this button here at the bottom and you duplicate it. So now we'll do, okay, who is your favorite musician? Okay, so just to try as a follow-up question, you could do a short answer type, right? Spell musician correctly. There we go. Okay, so like this. So now, if you want to see what it's like, you click the eye icon. It's preview. So up here, you click preview, and then you can see. Why does it have email? Well, that's why you're checking, right? So you want to change the setting. I want to get rid of the email. I don't want that. See, so that's why this preview button is really useful.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you have, yeah, go ahead.
You could, I think the name, first name, last name of students are something you do need to have. So
Oh, really?
do you know how to copy from another form, to insert questions taken from another form?
Well, let's try that.
You see the plus button? No, you should go to your new form. Go to your new form.
So this one here.
The one you were, no, but yeah, don't go from the source form. Go to the one you were making just now before.
This one here?
Yes, you see the plus to add a new question just below that?
Yeah.
Just below, yeah.
Import questions.
Right.
Right. Very good, very good. So if you look at like, for example, the form that I just had before, and then I can import the questions here directly. Right. That's very good, very good. So just those two.
And you can do the textbook question as well. That's a really good question, I think.
Yeah. So now you've imported it from before, so you don't have to start from scratch every time. That's really a key point of using Google Forms well, is that you want to create one, and then you want to then copy and make copies and then update. You're never always starting from zero all the time, right? Usually. Okay, and make sure that it's required or not. That's a key point here, right? So if you definitely want them to answer the question, you have to click this required one. Okay, so again, this is required. These are all required. Okay, here I could put other. So adding other gives them a line to type something, maybe if they like something other than one of these genres. Maybe that's a good idea. Okay, so let's try that out. All right, so we have here the names, and then we have this. Now, one more thing I'd like to show you is that you can kind of make it a little bit. Whoops. Hold on a second. Whoa, wait a minute. Hold on a sec. I'm getting lost here. I got so many tabs. Okay, not this one. Not this one. Sorry about this, folks. Okay, hold on a sec. I'm a little lost here. Let me get back online. Here we go. Okay. All right, come in, Nate. I will share this now. Okay, so here is the form that I'm making now. One last thing to show you is this customization icon. It's like a palette. If you click on that, you can add a header image, for example. They give you a bunch that you can use. You can upload one. If you're already using Google Photos, like I am, you can then import. So just grab an image and then import it. Then you can add it like this. And what's nice is that it automatically updates the color palette to match the image. So if you notice here, once the header uploads, you notice that the background images change, and then you have a chance to play with the theme color as you like. So this one matches the sky. You can make the dark, you can increase contrast. You can also change the font, although I don't recommend this one. I recommend the basic one, which is very clear, okay? So those are some customization options there for you, okay? All right, so we've done it. We've created, it just took a couple minutes. Once you get good at this, it goes faster and faster. Let's try it out, and I'm gonna share this with you guys like last time. I'd like you to answer the question about your favorite kind of music, and then we'll look at the responses and then see what we can talk about, okay? All right, so I'm clicking send. Yeah?
Yeah. Just show us again how you are going to share this one. So you.
Sure. Okay, so once you have completed the form, as it is here, it's all done. You've previewed it and you've customized it as you like. Now you click the purple send button up here. Okay, so you click that. This comes up, and you then send via mail, link, or an embedding. You can actually embed the code into a website, for example, or a Moodle page or whatever you're using, okay? I like short URLs. Copy it. Now I'm going to paste it. I'm going to paste it into your into the chat. Okay, everyone. Here is a discussion. All right, there you go, everyone. A discussion question for you. Please answer the survey, everyone. Let's pretend we're just beginning the class, for example, or we're just starting this unit on music. All right, everyone, we're going to start talking about music. What kind of music do you like best? Please click on the link and answer this survey. Please go ahead. So everyone, onegaishimasu. Let's give this a try, and I'd like to show you how the results then can be used to stimulate a bit of conversation, okay? I think it can be very interesting to find out what your students think about a particular topic, and you can see a variety of you know, personalities, preferences, and that can be interesting, right? So this is just something that's not a new concept. There are other ways of doing this, but this is one particular simple way that we can take advantage of this sort of online situation we're in. Okay, we got 10 responses here. Very good. Okay, I'll give you another minute here. Okay, so as you can see, all right, let's just say that's what we get. So now what's really cool is that you can see a wide variety. Oh, look at this, everyone. Oh, we have a wide variety of different responses here. Okay, this is very cool. So there's all kinds of different things. All right, so there's a wide variety of music. Okay, good. Favorite musicians. Wow, look at that. Okay, so now you can take this data, classroom data, and use it for follow-up questions. Okay, so this can be done either you chatting with the students in the Zoom, or you can put students in a breakout room and then they can discuss. They can talk about perhaps follow-up questions. Okay, so this is kind of cool. Right, and then individual, right? Anyway, I think the summary is the most interesting point here, is that this kind of graph is very interesting, and these types of things, okay? All right, good. A lot of these people, maybe some of your students have never heard of, right? So that's one advantage, okay? So look at the list of classroom favorite musicians. Who have you never heard of before, you know, whatever, something like that. So anyway, just a way of generating some student input and then taking that and using it for conversation, okay? So Bruno, that's all I've got to say right now on Google Forms. Is there anything else that you want to mention about
Yes,
things
I'd like
like
to show
technical things that are very important to do?
Yes.
I'll stop sharing. If you want to share your screen, feel free.
All right. Okay. Now, first, I'd like to say that this is a very interesting type of activity, in my opinion. I heard about it from you today, Jerry. I think it's quite good to cut the class because it's very tiring to listen or give also a lecture which continues and continues and continues. So little breaks are really nice. And
like a task, like a regular task that you would normally do in your
exactly,
face-to-face classes, right?
exactly. And this is very short. It can be done in almost a few seconds, really, depending on the type of question you ask. And it gives actually a little break if the teacher is not speaking during the filling out time. It's just 1 or 2 minutes on your own to think and type. That's good. And then go again, and there is some kind of interaction because it's actual responses that were just given.
Mm-hmm.
And one more thing I'd like to comment also on Jerry's input is that it is, Jerry, you mentioned using forms for logistical issues, like for example, the level of equipment of students in the beginning, computer, Wi-Fi, tablet, etc. And do they have their textbook? And in the future, there will be some other logistical questions, like did they register for this or that or whatever. And the second use you just suggested now was like some discussion questions to start the class, or maybe review the last week's topic or something like this. And I think they can also be cumulated. Like it's a good habit to send one form per week. Once you learn to do it, it's really, really fast actually, and it's really fast for students to reply as well. So why not have both, like the question of the day to start off the class in an interactive way, and a logistical question until it is resolved.
Yeah. So the thing that's nice about the form is when the students fill it out, it's like a de facto attendance, right?
Yes.
So they show that their presence by accessing the form. So there are other ways, of course, of taking attendance. Like you could take a screenshot of the chat window, or you could, when you put students in breakout rooms, you can take a screenshot of that thing or whatever. But this also is an alternative way. When you have a forum and students fill it out during the lesson, that is a kind of also a way of checking attendance.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And the question of students getting their textbook. So as the publisher, I'm concerned about this. I think as a teacher also I would be, because if your students have their physical textbook, it really makes the online learning process much more efficient. But it's a question of how do you check they got it, because you ask the question once, and half of the class has it, and the other second half doesn't. Then how many times are you going to be asking that? And I think this is a quite elegant solution to just insert the same question until the matter is resolved. And for those who got the textbook, is just click in yes, and that's done. It takes like 0.5 seconds. And when you see, really
measured it actually, yeah.
And when you see that it has reached 100%, problem solved. You don't need to be adding this question in your weekly form, in your form of the day anymore. And this goes for any kind of logistical questions or issues that needs to be resolved, because there is always this problem of you ask once, and you need to ask again actually until it's all
until it's settled. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, great.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. Oops, actually this is a way I was thinking about, and making an assignment in the LMS of your class, and asking students to post a picture of themselves with the textbook and their name on a piece of paper. It's another procedure that is possible to use. Now I'm going to show you, we've been starting to make Google Forms for the content of CIC, Conversations in Class, because it's just a lot of work to be doing those by yourself. And I'm going to show you the one of Unit 1, Part 3. If we look at this part first, we see that there are several areas where we could have an activity. One is here, for example, find the implicit question contained in those answers. Another one is here, how about you? and another one is here, the listening practice. So we've experimented with making a form for all of this. Maybe it's more telling from the student point of view. So I just click now, I just click the eye icon here. And in my computer, it opens another tab, and I can see how it looks from the student side. Everything is just inputted, and they will need to reply here. This is for the listening exercise. It's a video.
So, where are you from?
It's a video that was I made and uploaded on YouTube. And by the way, you've got the British accent and the Australian accent versions with those links. So if you want to use, if CIC users tell us that this is interesting for them to use, we are going to start making them for all the units of the book. And if you want to use a form like this, the first thing you have to do is to make a copy of it. Because you don't want, we don't want you to modify the form that we are making available on the drive. So first you need to start by creating a copy, naming it, and I advise you to call it something like template, to remember that this is something that you should not modify. You should just keep it for yourself. Put it in the right place from the start. Actually, I got a folder here for the classes I'm giving with CIC, and I'm going to put the template in the main folder. Okay. I've got myself a copy with a new name now. This is on my drive. I can close the original one. I don't need it anymore. And then I would advise you to, again, go and make as many copies as you have classes in which you are thinking about distributing this form. So I go again to this menu here, create a copy. And I'm going to, let's say, do it for my class of Thursday, third period. So I call it like this, CSC part 3. Thursday is 3. Not so nice this. Okay, this is better. Now I have a form that I can distribute. Again, if I was going to use it in like 4 classes, anyway, if I was going to use it in 4 classes, I would make four different copies, because I want the replies to this form to be sent in a specific folder, 1 per class. If I want to only distribute a given activity, for example, this one, let's say I don't want, I've done it in class, it's not so necessary, I can just delete. So I'm checking that this is not my master file, because there is no back function on the forms, and that's I was tricked once, that was a bit dangerous. So I'm checking this is indeed a copy of the copy, and if I do not want this item, I can just delete it.
Of course, you can create other items that you want. This is just meant to be a beginning template for you, and if you wanted to add more content, just do so. That would be very easy to do.
Absolutely. And then once this is done, I'm just going to distribute it in the way Jerry mentioned. So how in class, how can this be used? When there are different ways to do it. My own suggestion, which is just one possibility among many, would be as you cover the different the different parts of the content in class with the whole class. You pause for an activity, and I would ask my students to just work on their textbook directly, or if they haven't gotten the textbook yet, on a piece of paper by hand with a pen, and then continue the class. This can be done in a breakout room, for example. It's oral practice. It's perfect for breakout rooms. And then again, we have the teacher will instruct students about what to do and give them some time to do it with a pen and paper. And then at the end, I personally would leave maybe 10 or 15 minutes at the end of the class for students to type in the answers they have written by hand before. So this can serve as a kind of review. And also, I think that if you do that, there will be this part of a normal class which is difficult to have in the online setting, which is the teacher asks a task, asking the students to do a task, and the students do the task and hand something to the teacher. So this is just a kind of psychological, but I think it's a good component of a class. It helps break the class into small bits and have some, collective time, some thinking alone time, some writing time, some typing time. And also there is this basic thing that as a teacher, I'm asking you to do something, you do it, you send it to me, done.
So Bruno, could I talk about another possibility?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so another way, if you don't want to spend time in class with students typing and writing, and you want to spend more time with them actually talking, then this type of activity could be done before class. So if you're interested in a kind of, it's called the flipped learning, where the students are doing the study and the preparation work before, and then they come into the class, have already pre-studied material, then you can spend a lot more time actually talking in the lesson and doing other types of various activities. So it can be done either in class or outside of class, I think equally well. It depends on your style and what you'd like to do. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. I guess it depends a little bit also on the level of your class here, like
that's true.
national university, second year, first year, all of these
things. Are they
things.
total beginners or are they more advanced level? Yeah, that's definitely
absolutely. If it's a very low level class, it might be good for them to write down on the paper and then retype the exact same content. It might seem much too easy for better students, but it might be very useful for lower level students, and also give them the time during class to digest what has been just been taught. So it all depends on the exact context. There are many ways to use this in conjunction with the physical textbook and the form before the class, during the class, after the class.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
With sharing forms between teachers or sharing forms between students, is there any problems with that?
Like what kind of problem? You mean like a technical problem?
No, like for sharing forms or whatever, if it counts for, how do you say that, kind of like privacy issues or stuff like that.
Well, the way I look at it is if I'm teaching a class face to face, I'm going to make a handout and I'm going to make photocopies and I'll give it out to the students, right? But if I'm in an online setting, I'm going to create a handout. It's going to be in a digital format and then I'm going to pass it out. So I would imagine it's like, as long as you don't have any student information, like thing that can be traced to the student, I think it should be okay.
It should be okay. But I'm just saying sharing between students or sharing between other teachers, is that any problem?
Like if I make a form and then I want you're interested in it and I send you a copy like that?
Yeah.
I don't see why not, as long as there's nothing that's connecting to any student or anything like that. Okay. I would just be very careful. I would make a copy of my form first.
Yeah.
And then share that. So if I made a form and I sent you just the exact link that I sent to my students, then you would be like connected onto my form. So that would be something to take care of.
Okay.
So that like what Bruno talked about before is really important, that when you're going from class to class. You're making one form for everybody. You're making a copy for each use case.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, is
So
that okay? I hope that answers your question. Any other questions before we move on to Google Documents activities?
I'd like to just add two very, very small things, Jerry. I'm going to share my screen again. Just to point out that the toolboxes of CIC, one activity that we thought about making from those are just super, super simple, super plain. It's write two versions of the answers that you can find in this toolbox. So this is super simple. If it's really high-level students, it can be considered as too simple and boring. But if it's, again, low-level students, it can be a way to slow down the process and to let them digest the content. So, for example, here they could write two possibilities. You know, I'm majoring in economics, or I'm in the economics faculty, for example. The second little point is that you can choose to make a form auto marking, to choose the
Make it a quiz, basically. Yeah.
Sorry?
Make it a quiz. Yeah.
Make it a quiz.
So this says, I don't know, I can't read the French, but in English it would say quiz. Yeah.
Make it into a quiz. Yeah. It's this function is here. Yeah. And you can make it into a quiz or keep it as just a form. Basically, a form is like you students or people send you replies, and that's it. Yeah? A quiz means that you have set one correct answer, yeah, and then there is automatic marking right when people have submitted their form.
A great use case for that would be a vocabulary quiz, for example.
Yes.
Right. That would be really good.
It should be something with one definite answer, one and only one definite answer. There are plus and minuses to both ways. You know, automatic marking is interesting but tricky as well. But I think we cannot go into this debate right now, but it's good to keep this in mind.
Okay, so we move on to Google Documents?
Absolutely, yes. Okay,
all right, back to our, hold on a second, let me get out of here. Okay, so basically the idea is in conversations in class, like for example, I don't have it, but there are some writing tasks. So not just that textbook, but yeah, great. Thank you, Rebecca. So one way to practice conversation for low-level students is to, after you've given them vocabulary and patterns and things, is to give them a chance to collaborate together to write a dialogue out based on their own personal information. So this is a step before they're actually able to actually speak, is to do writing. So I always tell my students a great way to practice speaking is to do writing, okay? Because writing slows it down, it forces them to process the new language and put things together. And a key point of conversations in class is the golden rules, like avoiding long silence or making longer answers or being more active and interactive in conversation. And those are really key points that they're easy for students to understand intellectually, but it takes a lot of practice to actually get. So writing activities are really, really useful. And so in class, in a regular class, I'll just, okay, put you in groups. Okay, you guys, each pair, please write a conversation. Okay, I'll give you 10 minutes, ready, go. Make sure you include these questions and go, okay? Then after that, then they have to kind of memorize it, then they have to perform it either for small groups or for the whole class. And it's a really good way for lower level students to kind of take steps towards using language freely, okay? But we can't do that in this online context very easily. So Google Documents, which many of you I hope are familiar with, does give us a chance to do that. So I'd like to quickly give you a demonstration of how to use Google Document to create a class writing, a conversation writing activity, okay? So first of all, you need to create a document ahead of the class, and I've created one here, and I will share my screen and show it to you all, okay? you can link to this in the handout. So if you'd like it to use it. Okay, if you can see, Bruno, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So I'll make this a bit bigger to make it easy to see. So what you want to do at the front, at the top, you want to add some directions for the students. So step by step. For example, here, this can be used with one of the writing activities, the tasks in our textbook. But basically, you want to create tables, 2-row tables, 2 rows. Okay, so you insert, so you just click here, and then you just would insert a table, and then you go 2 rows like this, vertically, like that. Okay, then in the first row, you would just type the room number. The room number goes here, and then you would have how many students do you want to put in each room? Ideally, it would be 2, but if you have a class of 48 students like I do on Tuesday, second period, you're going to have to go 3 and maybe even 4 students per room, okay? Because if you have too many rooms, this really gets difficult, okay? So just you put a spot for each person's name, right, where they can put their name. And then here, in the second row, you want to create lines. Depending on how long you want them to write. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Say you want them to write a 10-turn dialogue, so you'd make a 10 lines. This is important because in this system, everyone is going to be writing on the document at the same time. If you're in the top room, it's no big deal. But if you're typing something here and then you press enter, notice how the table moves down. No big deal for you, but what if you're down here at the bottom and suddenly the screen is jumping around? This is a kind of a shortcoming of this technique. So the way around it is to create a table with so that students can go down by using the arrow key, and then when they would say student A would say hello. And they would type it in, and then instead of enter, not like that, you'd click the down arrow, and then you type it in, and then, you would type in the text that way. So it keeps it stable. There's a limit on how much students need to write, which is good. And then, I color code it just to make it easier to sort students, okay? So that's how that works, okay? So I'll just show you a couple other things. So once you create it, the trick then is to sort the students into the rooms. Now, how do you do that? Well, if you have a small class, it's no big deal. You say, okay, Taro, Nina, you're in room 1. Okay, Michiko and Keitaro, you're in room number 2. You just talk them through it, and then you could even type their names. You could have the students type their names. But if you have 48 students, that's a little tricky. It takes a long time. So one thing you can do, for example, is use the breakout room function. And before you let Zoom sort them into the rooms. And then here, I'll show you. Let's see. So I'm going to stop the screen share a sec. All right. Now I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. Now I can't do that. Bruno?
Yes.
I can't do that because I'm not the host. But okay, so I'll just describe it. So what you do is when you create the breakout room, you'll get that panel, okay? And you just take a screenshot of that panel and you paste that into the chat, and then students can then see what room they need to go to, okay? So for this, you need to know how to make a screenshot, all right? So if you're on a Mac, there's one technique. All right? If you're on a Windows PC, there's another. Please look on YouTube, right? Or just Google it. How do I make a screenshot in Windows? Or how do I make a screenshot on my Mac? Or whatever. And it's really simple once you learn the keyboard combinations, and you can do it. You take a screenshot of the lineup of the breakout rooms, paste that in. Students can then go. It'll take a few minutes for the big class to get through it, to get to it. But, again, first time it's a little slow and kludgy, but if you do it more than once, you should get quicker. Students will get familiar with the activity, and then hopefully it'll go smoother in subsequent.
Sensei.
Okay.
Sensei,
Yes.
I just did it, and I'm going to insert it into your document, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know it's a template, so I should not be doing this. Normally, I should be doing this in a document that is I made a copy of for a specific class, but exceptionally, I'm going to do it here. Insert a picture. And I know that my screenshots are taken on the...
You're going to insert a photo?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Oh, because you're the host and then you can do this. So
I was
you can
able
do that. I never thought about that. You don't have to only send it through the text. You can insert the screenshot into the document itself.
Yep.
Yep.
So this is room 1 and the student A, B, C, D. Room 2, A, B, C, D. Here we go. Done. So that works well with Zoom, because in Zoom you have the possibility of doing the automatic assignment to breakout rooms, which is really a big advantage of Zoom, I think, over the other systems. But if you had to use Google Meet or Microsoft Teams system, then you can still use the breakout rooms. You just need to assign students in advance. And the only drawback is that you will need to deal with absent students.
Yeah, well, cross that bridge when you come to it. Nothing's perfect, you know.
Right.
Yeah. That's a really good tip. Like, I didn't think about inserting the screenshot directly into the document itself so students can see. That's really quick. That's really good. Okay, so can I continue, Bruno?
Jerry, yes, yeah. I'd like to maybe just show that what I would be doing myself. I do not want to be destroying my template, because it's really a cool thing, a cool feature of such documents, that you can keep them and you can improve them little by little. So I want to keep my templates intact. And what I want to do is make a copy to use for a specific class. So I'm going to make a copy of it. Oops, I'm signing the wrong. Anyway, I would make a copy of it for a specific class. I'm not going to do that now because I'm signed in my wrong account, sorry.
Yeah, so like you said before, Bruno, it's the same thing. You just make a copy of everything, and that way you have the original, and you're not always starting from zero. Okay, so that's just a tip.
And the second key point is that I'm going to but maybe you should be doing that, Jerry. But before sharing it with everyone, I'm going to make this document accessible to anyone.
And then you have to give them editor permission. Yes.
Anyone with the link can edit, and this is crucial, because usually what happens with Google Docs is that we share it with 1 or 2 persons. Say you're writing an article with a colleague or 2, and then the 3 of you can edit the document. This is the standard way of collaborating on a Google document. And a very common way to use Google Documents to distribute information to your students is to choose the sharing setting, which is anybody with the link can view this document. And it's extremely rare to do this. Anybody with the link can edit the document. So you can do this in this precise context, where you are going to have one document for one activity on one precise day. And then anybody who gets the links will be able to access the document and to start typing into it.
Yep, so that's the point. Okay. All right, so so now let's say you are, okay, we're in room 1, and then Bisan is Bruno, you're my partner, okay? So then the typing is very simple. You know, you just work together. You just type in A. Hi.
Jerry, we cannot see your screen.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for letting me know. Right here. I'm demonstrating the typing process. It's pretty clear. Okay, so go ahead. So now it's Bisan's turn and B goes. Now, as the students are typing, you can be kind of overseeing things because everyone is working together in the same spot. You can kind of oversee everyone and you can see which groups are going well, which groups are not. And then as they're going on, then you can make a comment in the margin notes. So for example, what's your family name? Or something like that. And you can make a little comment or, whatever. So this is one way of kind of, through text, you're kind of communicating with your students as they're going throughout the activity. It's nice. And I'll show you an example from my class recently, and I'll show you some of the issues that come up. Yeah, so you can see that's the typing process. And then you just let it go on as long as you plan, as long as you have time for. And then now I'd like to show you an example of what that looks like. Okay, so here's one that I did. This is a redacted copy of Change the Names. Okay, but this gives you an idea of what it looks like. Okay, with first year students, freshmen, non-English majors, right? They're just beginning, and you can kind of see some very basic conversations. They're kind of stilted, not really sophisticated, but that's okay. They're starting, right? And once you get now to this point, it gives you data from which to work and teach and do your teaching thing, right? So as you go through it, like you can point out spelling things, little grammar formatting things. You can, like for example, you can take a turn and focus on it, and you can tell the student, okay, so Karen, you're from Kyoto. All right, so whereabouts in Kyoto? So what's the implicit question there, okay? So you could add from neighborhoods near Kinkakuji Temple, or no, something like right there, okay? So you have just, this is like a little bit of extra detail, okay? And then here, whereabouts is a nice follow-up question, but usually when someone gives some information, you want a reaction, right? There should be some reaction here. So you could say, oh, really? All right. So you could kind of point that out and say, well, look on page 122 and look at that list of reaction expressions. Try to insert some of those into your dialogues to make it more natural, right? So this is the kind of teaching that you can do. I had my go through it. In the next class, I followed up, and after reviewing the golden rules, I went through their dialogues and then gave them time in groups again to work on updating their dialogues to improve them, right? And that's their homework for next time. And then the next week, I'm planning on having students kind of memorize and perform these. We're going to take their groups and put them together in larger groups, and then they'll kind of do it that way. So that's the sort of sequence, okay? So this is, I found, is one good way to help beginners really kind of get the handle on the basics and kind of write stuff out and work on it. With higher level learners, you could either do more sophisticated conversations, or you could, do whatever you want. You could have various questions. You could have students think about what they want to say. You could demonstrate different types of answers. So if everyone working on the same document creates a space through which you can collaboratively work together. Okay. Bruno, anything else you want to add?
Yeah. I'd like to just comment a little bit on the 4 partners thing. As you said, usually when conversations are done by 4 people, they are even more stilted than when it's 2 partners. So it makes it more obvious that work on the pragmatics is a good idea, and that's where the golden rules come into play. So I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with this. The golden rule 2 is give longer answers, and 3 is don't always go by question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. Just speak from yourself, and you are going to sound more natural, which means actually your way of expressing yourself will be more fit with the cultural style that that is dominant in the English-speaking world. The second thing I wanted to say was that I think this is a great activity to be done. I would use it every class, every time. When I was teaching at university, I was doing that in my communication classes, and my students used to write a dialogue every week. And in the beginning, it's a big deal. Of course, my students were like complete beginner or false beginner level, probably even lower level than English classes. But in the beginning, it was a big deal for them. It was like, whoa, write a conversation and then perform it. And then after a while, it became so natural. I was like, okay, go ahead. And they were 10 minutes later, they had a really nice conversation written down. And the process in class was so amazing, really, because they joked and they studied seriously and they learned really well, I think. So it was, I think, the favorite activity in my classes among students. And now it's possible to replicate this online, actually, with a good use of the breakout rooms and the Google document. If the students stay in audio contact through the breakout rooms and they are typing together, so then it's really very similar with what happened in normal classroom. And the other good point of that is that everybody's in the same document at the same time, and you can see people typing actually up and down. You can get a little feeling of this group activity vibe that happens in a normal class. So it reintroduces a little bit of the real stuff, I think.
So that's all for Google Documents that we have. Of course, there are other things that can be done, but not today. Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we move on, Bruno. We're running down on time. We only got 15 minutes left.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we can go over Flipgrid extremely quickly. Let me share my screen again. Flipgrid is actually a bit somehow off topic for this workshop because it's not exactly a class activity in the meaning of something being done during class time to make the class more interactive. It's more something that you can give students to do in their own time as a little homework. I think it has some merit because it's from what I heard from colleagues, students like it. They like to use their smartphone. They are used to the selfies, and video stuff,
Excuse me, Sensei, what is Flipgrid?
Flipgrid, what is Flipgrid?
What are you talking about?
You can look at a few tutorials very well made that Jerry put some links.
But what is it? What is it?
It's a platform that allows you to give as an assignment to your students the fact of recording a short video in response to your own video. So for example, I made this one introducing myself, and a few teachers who took part in yesterday's workshop for French teachers replied.
So it's like a discussion board except with video.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. You can set the time to 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, or whatever. And it's you just need to log into a Microsoft account or Google account. Mm-hmm. And you can reply to the videos from a computer with a webcam. Then you don't need anything. Or with a smartphone, you need to download the Flipgrid app in that case. So again, it doesn't seem very critical to me. I'm not sure I would use it until I was used to the more important things that we just introduced. But it can be a nice, element of fun, I think, to introduce. And what the type of tasks you can ask students to do is it can be free talk, like what do you think of this or that? Or it can be, depending on the level of students, if you take CIC, for example, there are sections on how about you, with one precise question or two. Reply to those questions, how about you? Takes 1 minute, it's done. and you can give them feedback or not give them feedback. It's just a little element of variety.
So for more information, follow up on the links in the handout, everyone. I've included an article that was written there was a presentation about Flipgrid at last year's JOLP conference, and the author Eng Hai Tan has written up his account. You can see the link directly to his article there on JOLP Publications website. And there's so many tutorials on YouTube. I grabbed a couple, just search Flipgrid, and there's a couple there to get you started if you want to find out more information about this. Right, so anyway, that's it. So we've got about 10 minutes left. Does anyone have any questions or comments or anything you'd like to discuss? Should we unmute you?
Should unmute yourself first.
Yeah, unmute yourself, right? Yes, please, Madeline, hi. Can you unmute yourself first? Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking I could do it with the space bar. I did. Flipgrid online has a vast library of tasks that other teachers have already made and created also that you can go in and just pick up and drop down and assign it for your students to do.
Ooh,
and
really?
Many of the tasks that are pre-made for elementary school students are things that are good for our lower level English